Press OK.
All right. Well, welcome to Living Off Script. This is going to be our first episode ever. Yay. Thank you so much for being our first guest, Sumit. Um,
Whoa!
so
First?
you are you are
All
the
right.
first. Yes, we're starting something super exciting. So this podcast slash channel, because we are going to be uploading to Spotify and other platforms, is where we interview the minds and hearts of very bold and interesting people who are living according to their own path. And we will learn a little bit about how they got to be who they are, their challenges, what drives them, and potentially how you can be inspired to make sure that you live a life that is aligned with your authentic self. So, without a further ado, here is our first guest to our podcast. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you here.
Well, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
glad. I'm
yeah, go
glad you're
ahead.
doing this thing. Really, no, I'm excited about like your new adventure over here. So
I
good for you.
know. Oh,
Good for
thank
you.
you. It's a passion project. I've always been very interested in different lives, people living different lives. Even me, I think I've tried to live a bunch of different lives in the one life that I have. And I'm constantly curious about, especially when you see someone that first of all seems very attuned to who they are and are living from a place of authenticity, and also that they're doing really cool things that are not necessarily the mainstream thing to do or what you're told to do. You got to go to college, you got to get married, you have kids, you have to go to a 9 to 5. Like, I'm very
Mhm.
very intrigued and interested and curious about what drives people like that. So thank you again for being here. And so we'll just start, if you want to tell us your name, where you were born, and where do you live now.
Well, name is Sumit Mantapon. I was born and raised in Bangkok, Thailand, and pretty much I guess I would say I kind of grew up there.
Okay.
Up until a couple of my last 2 years of high school. That's when the family
Oh,
decided to
wow.
move here.
Yeah.
It was kind of like not like a permanent plan per se, but then it just kind of turned out to be that way.
Right.
So that's how it all started.
Love
Well,
it.
this part of my life anyway,
Right.
and moved here when I was in um, junior high school. I
You're
was
in
in
high school.
junior year in high school. Yep,
Mhm.
and it was it was a little different, a little challenging. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie, is ever like the culture shock and things like that. But I managed. It was it's fun. I enjoy I
That's
enjoyed the like most of it anyway. So
Yeah. So there was
and
an element of resilience right away that you kind of embraced
so
it, sounds like.
lived in mostly in Bradenton, Florida for a long time. Haven't
Hmm.
really moved anywhere yet. I mean,
Okay.
technically, no, I have not moved anywhere. Right now I'm at Kim's house. I have not been home since Kim travels a lot, so I'm here taking care of the animals and stuff. So right now I'm at Kim, so you see the mermaid in the back and things like that. You can
Yes, I
probably
see
figure out.
that. Yes,
So
yes.
and anyway, and that's how that's to answer your first question. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's me
That's the story. Okay,
briefly.
so you came to the States when you were already almost an adult. So you were
Yeah.
born and raised in a completely different culture,
Yep.
on the entire, across the world. So what was your childhood like, and how were you raised?
Let's just say I don't know, seen any movies out there that's like they kind of played a role this thing
Right.
with like Asian family, how Asian parents and how they are and things like that. Well, my parents were not that strict, nothing
Uh-huh.
that way, but I would have to say it's very school driven and things like that.
Okay.
Like whatever parents or however top the parents are here, multiply that by 2 or 3. All right.
Okay.
So yeah, my growing up, really everything was about really not everything, but mostly was about school because I at one point. I would say I started back in like eighth grade or ninth
Mhm.
grade. I'm trying to remember around that time. Like say, let's say ninth grade. I think it's
Uh-huh.
ninth grade. That's when I started to go to school 7 days a week. So
Wow.
five Monday through Friday to school, public school, and Saturday, Sunday tutoring school. Saturday being all day, and Sunday half day. So technically, as a child, you kind of have that window of Sunday afternoon to be a kid, you know. And at one point, I decided to, you know what, I'm doing all this, and yes, for me, for my family, but I want to do something for myself. I wanted to basically create my own identity as well in some way. So I joined basketball team, and became I was in varsity basketball, and that was like my thing, like where it's
Uh-huh.
like, well, as long as you keep that would be, as long as you keep your grades up, you get to stay and playing basketball. And that was what was going for me other than school. I mean, not gonna say that I get to be a kid, but do you really get to be a kid though when you like go to school 7 days a week? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you don't have a
Yeah.
whole lot
No,
of time to actually be a kid.
I
And
can
that's
see
it's
that.
not all bad. I wouldn't say that was all bad. It taught me disciplines and all these things, but really it was like, I think a lot of it had to do with the culture itself as well, where it's
Yeah.
like you either you have a degree or you're nobody kind of deal. That's the
Right.
culture. And unlike what we have here, I say this often, in this place, in the United States, where you can pretty much do anything, and you as long as you put your mind to it, and you can
Mm-hmm.
become successful in your, well, I say in your own right. All right.
Right.
And that's another topic. I mean, like, the way I define success is might be
Right.
different from how other people define success.
Right.
So
Right.
well, so that's my childhood. I mean, I grew
Okay.
grew up in a family, mainly a military family. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. So my
Mm-hmm.
grandparents were really the ones who raised me, and also that's the culture. So mom and dad go to work, they're busy, and grandparents are the ones that take care of the kids.
The kids, right.
So I was closer to my grandparents than my parents technically.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so my dad worked outside of city, so he would come home either every 2 weeks or once a week. So I would get to see him, like really like Saturday. My childhood Saturday was like this: tutoring school, get
Hmm.
out tutoring school around 3:30,
Yeah.
ride a bus to get home, knowing that my dad's gonna be sitting at the dining room table waiting for
Uh-huh.
me,
Yeah.
and we'll say hello. And first thing we normally would we that I remember doing was that he would ask me to open the textbook, and my dad is like this he's pretty brilliant. He was really good in school.
Hmm.
Um, so he would make me open the textbook. Mostly it's like mathematics. He's like a math genius.
Uh-huh.
And he would make me open a textbook and he asked me what you learned today. And of course, I would just point it out, and then it would take him maybe less than 10 minutes to look through what I had learned that day.
Right.
And he will close that textbook and just start quizzing me.
Oh,
And
wow.
being put on the spot, of
Hmm.
what, a 15, 16-year-old, I'm just like, "Ugh," like I just struggle,
Right.
and
Right.
he would just go, how could you forget these things? I learned these things 30 years ago, and you just did 2 hours ago.
Right.
And it's yeah, I got good grades. Yes, I got some level of disciplines from that, but I would have to say it created this bad relationship with me and school. So that's
Yeah.
where it all
Yeah.
started.
Of
So
course.
so and
Yes, it
not
makes
not
sense.
and probably not a surprise. that I am a college dropout. Because I
Yeah.
got to the point where it's like I don't want to go to school anymore. I
Right.
don't. And so that was my childhood. I mean,
Right.
I'm not gonna say that I had a bad childhood. I can't claim that. I did not have a bad childhood. I did not even have that tough of a childhood. I just had a different childhood than
Right.
what most people are accustomed to here.
Right.
um
Right.
it's that's how it was, and it kind of like, and later on in our conversation we may kind of like swing back to it and probably make sense of why I have made my decision to do what I do.
Right. No, I mean it's already kind of making sense, and obviously we'll jump into what you do so that people can hear what you do and how you've
Hmm.
structured and created and designed your life. But obviously this has a lot to do with, you grew up in a culture, like you say, you had a good childhood. It was what was done over there. It was highly over indexed on academics, and even the relationship with your dad seemed to be, the bonding time was about, him making sure you were on top of your academics, right?
Hmm.
Lots, like, a lot of structure for a child, right? And one question I have for you, when you say that, at that point, do you remember ever thinking, I don't want to do this, I want to quit school? Like, was that even an option?
that that was not an option at the time. It was
Mhm.
I was kind of raised around this idea of like I mentioned earlier, that have a degree or you're nobody. That
Right.
was the idea of it, right? So if you don't finish school, if you don't get your degree, you are just no one. That how I was raised
Okay.
growing up.
Right.
um and really not knowing, and also like, to in their defense, they're probably right mostly, because in the place where I'm from, without a degree, you probably not going to be able to survive do a whole lot. Like,
Right.
unless you get, help from your
Right.
parents or whatever, financial great financial help you receive from them or whatever. Other than that, without a degree, you're probably not going to be a whole lot.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
not a whole lot of things you can do other than go to school, become an engineer, become a doctor, become a whatever, like, the main three jobs: engineer, doctor, lawyer. Same thing, like, same to some degree, same as over here, and it becomes also super competitive, where
Mhm.
it's like that's why kids go to school 7 days a week, because if as a child, if you don't, you're gonna lose. You're never gonna be.
You're gonna
It's
fall
super.
behind. Yeah.
You're not only gonna fall behind, you're never gonna make it. You're actually never gonna make it. That's simply how it works over there.
Right.
And then, to some point, fast forward, a few years later, mom took this grant to finish her to get her doctorate,
Hmm.
and she was able to bring me and my brother along with her. So that was
Right.
the opportunity that we
Ah,
had.
that's
That
what brought you here.
Yep, yep.
Got it.
So.
Got it. Okay. Well, we'll probably definitely circle back to make sense of all of this, but I do want to ask
Mhm.
if you can explain, what you do now. What's a
Well,
day in the life for you now, and yeah, how did you come up with
well, I
your
hop I
career?
hobby for a living. I mean, I guess
You hobby
that's
for a
how
living. I've seen,
that's
I've
what
noticed
that's
this.
that's
Right.
what I liked, how I like to put it. Um,
Yes.
I'm a full-time professional poker player, and I have been doing so for almost 8 years now. Almost 8 years. Not getting rich out of it yet, but, like, it pays bills. And the main thing is that, like, if you ask any professional poker player, what what do we all have in common? What are we looking for? And what we had craved initially, the reason why, what drove us into doing this to begin with, outside of our passion. Hopefully, I mean, I'm sure there are poker players out there that are actually not that passionate about what they do, but I am one of them that's very passionate about what I do. And that's just kind of like, that's also my personality as well. this is almost like a curse. I don't really do things for fun. I do things to get really good at. Anything I do, I don't like, if I won't do anything unless I know I can become really good at. And that's,
Mm-hmm.
I have always been this way since I was a child. So yes, I play poker for a living. I play cards for a living. That's essentially what I do. And yeah, it's been close to almost 8 years now.
Yeah.
And
So when did you consider it that this could be, a career, or that you could make this your life? Like how did that process start for you?
so I was introduced to poker. I was introduced to poker when I was in the car business. I was in sales. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
much, you in sales too. You were in
Yeah.
sales at some point. I was
Yeah.
in sales for 12 years. I was in the car business for total of 12 years. And
Mm-hmm.
at one point, I was married at the time, and I was introduced to game of poker early on back in 2004,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like just, took it a little more serious than most people. And it was 2007, December of 2007, when I decided, you know what, I'm done working hard for, for other people.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually doing decently well, playing cards. So I decided to, well, back in 2007, I wasn't married, but decided to go off and play poker professionally. That
Mm-hmm.
lasted a year.
Uh-huh.
My firstborn came around, so I go, you know what? I think it's I'm better off going back to a regular job. So I did, and that lasted in the car sales, mostly in the car sales for another, well, until December 2016. I was married at the time, and I got, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this.
Mm-hmm.
I became pretty miserable with my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just got so burned out. Got so burned out, and I did decent financially, and I put some money away, and I talked to my ex-wife at the time, and she was 100%, 100%, well, seemed like 100% supportive about the idea. And
Mm-hmm.
so she's like, yeah, just go and do it. And so I did. I quit my job and went full time again, and it's been since. It's
Wow.
been since December 2016. I've been playing professionally, and that is, yes, my sole income.
That
My
is
my my
amazing.
yeah, my sole mainstream income. Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing for many reasons. One of them you mentioned, a lot of people can relate to when, we burn out, we're doing something that is, you know, for the most part, it's because, we need a paycheck, we need to pay bills, we have a family, we're trying to support the family. And so it's really bold, and it's great that you had the support. Some spouses at that point would be like, "Are you crazy? Like, what do you think?" They could be like super scared about, because you have a safe, quote unquote, safe job that's paying the bills versus something that you're not really sure. But obviously, you know you must be really good at it. Or I think there's an element that you mentioned, this is not some random I mean, it's not a random thing that you just go and play. Like, you actually put a lot of effort into it. So this is a something that you educate yourself about and you're structured about, I would imagine, right?
As professionals, we take pride in what we do, just like other professions.
Yeah.
We take a lot of pride, meaning we spend a lot of time in not only at the table, right? Because yeah, I mean that's where you acquire the experience and things like that. But
Right.
you also have to spend time off the table as well, studying and things like that. Well, the game of poker evolves, I would say, daily, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it evolves all the time. So as a professional, if you are not doing what it takes to acquire the edge, you're not
Mm-hmm.
going to remain that winning as being, you're not going to stay winning as a winning player.
Right.
And being a winning player is the key, because obviously being a professional, you have to make money.
Right.
So it's,
Of course.
because
Yeah.
otherwise without that edge, you are not going to be making the money, or you might still be making the money, but you're not going to be making the kind of what we call in our term is called win rate. You're not
Mhm.
going to be able to acquire the kind of win rate you should be acquiring. Of course, the more skill you are, the well, that's also a trick. I mean, if I were to be sitting at a table with world class player,
Mhm.
I will lose every single thing I have, right?
Mhm.
So it's also also that's the main key as well. You have to find a game that you can beat.
Right.
You can't be sitting with world class players and being a regular pro. No, you're not going to win.
Right.
You have no chance.
Yeah.
So you have to find a game that have more of the recreational players, people that play for fun. They just, they make good living. They feel like being generous and, degenerate their money. So it's like,
Yeah.
so you there to have fun with them and make money at the
Yeah.
same time. So why not?
Yeah. You have to be very strategic all around, even
Oh
not
yeah,
just
oh yeah.
the game,
That's
but
yep,
who you're playing with, what games you are realistic about. Like, okay, I can win on, at this table, but I'm not going to go to that table with some, world class, players. That's not going to
correct.
be of benefit for you. Yeah. No, that's super interesting. So what do you think, having made this choice, right? So you've made this choice of making this your career. This is how you earn a living. What has it done for you in regards to the rest of your life? Like, how has this benefited your life in alignment with how you want to live it?
Well, the key is that like I guess I don't think I kind of went into this initially. Um, if you ask any professional poker player what they want the most is freedom, right?
Mhm.
Similar to any entrepreneur, right? I mean, that still comes with work, comes with a lot of
Right.
work, not that you're gonna be able to disregard all that. Of course, you're still gonna have to do the work to get there, to do the work to maintain whatever you have. Um, the freedom meaning having time, like you can relate to this where it's like, being in a 9 to 5 job, being in a regular job can kind of put this strain on things like family and things like that. And I honestly, I don't care how well you know how to balance your time. I mean, have you ever had the time, like, I'm talking this in general, and where your child has a baseball game or whatever it is they're into, and you're not able to make it, right?
Yeah.
Well,
No, that's understandable.
I never want to be that parent. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it's like, hey, listen, you have, you have work and things like that. It's perfect valid. It's perfectly a valid reason, right? But I actually don't ever want to have any reason for me to not make it to my kids
Mhm.
practice or whatever. And that has always been this thing. I just want to be available for my two girls. I have two girls, by the way. I have a 16, well, soon to be 16-year-old just got her driving permit. That's
Yeah.
scary.
That's
Um,
scary. Very scary.
and then soon to be a 10-year-old. And
Mhm.
and they have the activities, both of them, like, Mimi, the oldest, she's in the orchestra, and she's
Mhm.
also in the law program with her high school as well. Super proud of her.
Mhm.
Cadence is into a competitive cheerleading. So a lot of activities, and that's something that I am not willing to give up. I'm not willing to bargain. Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to be there, and it's
Yeah.
like, kind of briefly back to my childhood a little bit. This is
Mhm.
I really do believe it's all stemmed from my childhood. When I did play varsity basketball, I um I never had my parents never showed up in my game, not none of my game, and I
Yeah.
don't want that for my kids.
I
So
completely understand that. And thanks
yeah,
for sharing that. That's
yeah,
vulnerable. It's definitely something that's like you felt that absence and you don't want your kids to feel that.
yep,
You definitely want them to always have you there. And it's, I mean, it's an amazing motivation. I can relate, I've chosen a career where I have flexibility because I had a similar situation. And it's admirable that you have taken risks and you're doing, such a mindful and conscious choice in your life so that you don't ever have to make that choice. You don't ever have to be choosing between, do I stay at work or do I go see my girls? Like that's not even
Hmm.
a question. So since we're talking about your girls, I want to know, how do you feel like your choices are affecting them and how they live their life?
Well, like with my 16-year-old and starting with the soon to be 10-year-old, she kind of getting into that mode now. But like with my 16-year-old, we've had some conversations where, she would ask me question like at one point this was when she was younger, probably didn't, she wasn't quite sure what she really wanted to do yet, and she asked me about as far as becoming an astronomer and things like that. And we had this conversation where it led to, listen, at the end of the day, being an adult, you are going to have what's called responsibilities, right? You have bills to pay and things like that.
Yeah.
Yes, as much as I would like to tell you, you need to follow your passion, and I would love for you to follow your passion and do what you love. But at some point, you are gonna also balance that off with like you're gonna have, yes, you can have bills to pay, right? I mean, what I'm saying is like you can, for example, she's also into art as well. She's an artist herself, really, really good, talented artist actually. Um, you can't be an artist and be broke.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point.
Yeah,
But
that's
please
the whole
be an
point.
artist, okay? Please be an artist. Please pursue that. Please never give that up for whatever, however you going to do it. And this is what I'm going to say to everybody. Like here's the thing. I think I had this conversation with someone just like a week ago where it's like, the saying where it's like you got to do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I think that is so outdated. It's
Mm,
so outdated.
mm,
Especially this day and age, you have so many tools, you have so many things available.
mm.
It is almost like you're doing yourself a disservice to go, you know what? I'm stuck here. You know
Mm.
what? I'm not gonna try anything else. You know what? I'm not gonna do anything else. This is my life now. Like,
Yeah.
listen, if you enjoy what you do, you love your job. Yes, you can have bad days. I have bad days. I have bad days all the time.
Right.
But it
Of
doesn't
course.
mean that I go, just because I had a bad day, it doesn't mean I hate my job the next day.
Mm.
If you have this feeling where you don't even have any passion for your job anymore, do the work to seek something else. And
Yeah.
and I'm not saying to quit your job and not have money to pay bills, but hey, you can do a little by little.
Yeah.
You can do these things on the side. And
Absolutely.
and and I'm a firm believer, if you put enough work and you put enough, obviously you have enough passion for it, you're gonna make it. You're gonna be able to do something with it. We have way too many tools these days to not do it, to be stuck in that saying of like, I gotta do what I
Gotta
gotta
do what
do.
I gotta do. Oh, I love that you say that because I agree. I am someone that is very just I encourage people. It's terrible to feel like you're stuck. We're never stuck, right? It's a mindset, right? It's a
Right.
mindset. And as you said, maybe back in the day, yeah, we had less opportunities, less tools, less options. But this day and age, we have things that we can do. We just have to maybe manage our time. We have to
Yeah.
use our energy and our resources to put it into the things that we want to do. We can't say, oh, I'm stuck. I hate my job, and then come home and watch TV for 7 hours or 8 hours.
You said it. I didn't have to say that part because I'm like, dude, you spend so much time on TV, man. You got time to
Yeah. And not
to
to say, a lot of people fall into that, and you know, it's human, it's human, and there's no necessarily no judgment, but there is enough time of the day that you can create a different life, a different, you know feeling, because when you are stuck in something and you're not necessarily enjoying it, everything else in your life is going to be pretty rough. Like if you're not motivated, if you don't have that passion, it's gonna permeate in the rest of your life. And I know you mentioned when we started, you said you were a hobbyist. Is that what how you said it?
I hobby for a living.
You hobby
Like
for a living.
even at the, like, I get asked, like people would ask me, I mean, some people figure it out, like, I mean, we see him all the time, obviously he spends a lot of time playing poker, so this is probably his job, right? They figure it out. But if I'm ever asked what I do for a living at a poker table, that's what I tell them: I hobby for a living.
Right.
And listen, it's up to them if you don't want to figure they want to figure
Right.
out, hey, listen, this is one of my hobbies, right?
Right,
So
because you have other
yep.
hobbies. You have a lot of other hobbies,
I
right?
well, I mean, the other, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it. I mean, I do get some photography gigs here and there, and so, but that's more like, that's really my hobby, because
Okay.
I really do want to keep it that way.
Mhm.
I have actually tried to pursue it, and it just didn't feel the same. It's just
Yeah, once
basically,
you start pursuing
I
it,
just want
it
to keep.
loses the magic, maybe a
Yep.
little bit.
Yeah, it kind of did with photography. But I do get gigs here and there. It comes in, I get a wedding or whatever, and it's
Mhm.
so it's still fun for me. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, that's the other hobby of mine. So,
What about your road biking?
well,
Or your mountain bike?
that's kind of like, that's a really long shot to make a living out of. Listen, if I can actually become a professional cyclist or some semi-pro, that would be awesome.
Right.
Because I do spend a lot of time doing it. But again, that I'm just looking to more, like, I mean, not only I'm doing it for my both physical and mental health. It's been actually great for my mental health.
Mhm.
And it also expands my mind because I get to meet some really cool people.
Mhm.
I ride with a lot of retirees as well, a bunch of like 60, 70-year-old badasses, man, that I ride with. Like, they're just a bunch of badasses, successful people financially. So I get to pick their brain too. We'll go have some coffee sometimes, and they teach me stuff.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt. They acquire free knowledge and get healthy. So it's
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I mean, part of it, I hear you say, okay, that's not how necessarily, you don't make a living off of that, you don't make any money out of that. But in the newer definition, or at least for me, and I bet you we're going to get to, because you said something about my definition of success. In the definition of success that I believe in, for example, the fact that you actually get paid playing poker is amazing and it's wonderful, but you're building a life where you're actually like doing all these things that you enjoy, probably 80 to 90% of the time, right? Whether you're getting paid in money or you're getting paid in these experiences that enrich your life, that you're learning about cool people, that you're, getting to exercise, be outside, get your mental health, healthier. All these things are of huge value as well, right? You're not just sitting in an office in a 9 to 5 and then go home and sit in front of the TV, or, you're designing that life and you're getting paid in many different ways. It's coming back at you in many different ways.
That's
So,
a great point.
yeah.
That's a great
So,
point.
yeah. And I
And
was going to
and
ask you, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no. I was gonna say that, like, and that's probably a big reason why I'm never gonna I'm never gonna give this up, because I know what it allows me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And not only it allows me to spend time with my kid. I mean, just as important, it allows me to spend time on myself. It
Mm-hmm.
allows me to ride my bike, right? Which otherwise, no, I can't see it. I cannot see it, and I probably feel be as guilty as a lot of people and say this phrase: I don't have time. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
do, technically you do have time. Like, when people say I don't have time, they go, yeah, but I mean, you spend a lot of time watching TV. That's the time right there. You could be,
Yeah.
spending on doing other things. But anyway, I'm not gonna get
Yeah.
into that. But
Right. So, yeah, going back, like I said, you had mentioned like your definition of success. What is that for you?
What is definition? Yeah, my definition of success is you know, you can, I know you can relate to this. It's the level of happiness you're able to acquire. That's success to me, right? Um, the level of happiness you are able to not only acquire but maintain. Um, I you know, I was caught in this I guess society's like this thing of like the society standard, like you know, have a nice house, have a nice car, and all these things. And also, not only speaking for myself, I have seen it. I have seen people who hated their job and continue to do what they do because they have acquired this lifestyle that they cannot escape from,
Mm.
being material things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? You take out that, you know, that $5,000 mortgage payment. It yeah. Well, you're gonna have to grind it out, buddy. I'm not saying there's anything, you know, it's all wrong. Well, that's not my definition.
Right, right.
Like I have been also, you know, growing up with my grandparents, my grandpa mainly. He is like he My grandpa was in the military and finished in one of the highest ranks you could finish. Pretty successful. He did pretty well. Like he did pretty well as far as, you know, financially and things like that. But man, the man was so simple.
Mm.
His just he took on this, he became a Buddhist monk for like 5 or 6 years, and that's where
Okay.
he got most of it from. And so the living this simple path, and I have always had this idea of like the less you have, the
Mm.
less you have to worry about. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes, I love that.
so I have always been a firm believer in that, and perhaps I at some point I took the, I mean, I still do. I mean, and at some point I might have taken it to the extreme. Um, and you know, and I still do. I still don't want anymore. Like I just don't want a whole lot. I just don't want a
Yeah,
whole lot. I just want what I have and work with what I have. And that's just how it goes with me. And you know,
mm,
and I think that has a lot to do with spending time around my grandpa. So
that's amazing. That's
yeah.
beautiful. That touched me deeply. I want to repeat that because that should be a quote. That should be like something that gets out there. Like the less you have, the less you have to worry about. Like,
Yeah.
I can relate. My dad used to use some sort of quote similar to that, something along the lines of like, I desire very little, and what I desire very little, I desire very little. You know, it was kind of like a
Oh,
very
that's yeah, that's good. I like that.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It reminded me of that. So but it really, and when you're expressing and you're saying it, like I felt that like you really, really, really believe that, and that's a value of yours that's very deeply ingrained. And you know, I guess you were very inspired by your grandpa that despite, you know, all his accolades and his success from the military perspective and everything, he was simple. He was detached from material
Detached.
things and
That's the
wanting.
word.
Yeah, which can create a lot of peace. You know, it creates a lot of peace when you
Oh yeah.
don't need a whole lot of things to be joyful, to feel like you have a fulfilled life, that it's not about the stuff that you have or the stuff that
Mhm.
you accumulate materially. Obviously, there are other things that, you know, you strive for that make you feel fulfilled, but has nothing to do with the material stuff. So you said that you feel like you've taken it to a little bit of an extreme. What does that mean?
Well, let's just say like this is the part where I'm probably not going to get too much in details, but
Hmm.
like I might have lived out of my car for a few months, but
Okay.
you know,
Hmm.
it was just kind of for the time being, it was
Hmm.
the best option.
Hmm.
Um, I was on the road, and it was, you know, right after a breakup, and I just go, you know what, I'm just gonna hit the road.
Right, right, right.
And
Yeah.
so there I went, and let's see, the road considered of like driving out to Mississippi, um north, like southern and northern Louisiana, and basically I would just stay in a hotel for like I would stay in a hotel for every 2 or 3 nights, so I
Mm-hmm.
can so I can like actually get a real actual sleep in the
A good
bed kind
sleep.
of
Yeah.
feeling. But it's like I had my car actually like set up like a camper,
Hmm,
so it was
okay.
it was kind of cool. And Kim will vouch for this. Sometimes I actually choose to sleep in the car
Yeah,
still,
that's
and
awesome.
I would go, I would tell her, I'm like, listen, I want to sleep in my car tonight.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's like, and again, I think that has a little bit to do with my grandpa as well, because I
Hmm.
remember seeing my grandpa, like he would at dinner, he would put everything on his plate, including all the sweet, like pudding, watermelon, everything, all the sweet and all the savory stuff on the same single plate and eat it all together. And I'm like, that's gross, right? I'm like, as a kid, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, that is so gross. And I asked him one day, and he explained to me, and it just go. I go like, wow, okay. And that's kind of stuck with me,
Uh-huh.
that part of like him spending 5 6 years as a monk, that basically had the way he reminds himself, the way he humbles himself.
Right.
And I guess like me sleeping in the car once in a while is kind of like the way for me to humble myself.
Wow, that's super
So
interesting. That is
so
really
that
cool.
I still do, I still sleep in my car. I still go like, you know what, I'm just gonna sleep in my car tonight. And well, I mean,
That's
except
really
now
cool.
it's like now it's just it's by choice. Well, it was
Yeah.
by choice then too, but
Yeah.
it's just what I do. Like that's what I meant by taking it to the extreme level. I'm not saying this is the life that everyone should follow. I mean, not even close. But this is the life that works for me.
Right. And which
And
is what this podcast show, whatever, is about each person, figuring out what it is that works for them. Yes, it's not about creating another box that you have to fit into, right? Let's jump
yep,
from this box to this other box. That's not what it's about. It's about, going inward and being really like mindful about what do I want my life to look like based on who I am, not based on who that person is or who this person is, like just who I am. And I find that so amazing that you still want to do that. And I find it so cool that in some way you have that awareness that doing that, it brings you a certain feeling of connecting with, this very strong value that you connect with your grandpa that way. But like, it humbles you. It probably brings even more appreciation for the few things that you do have that are,
hmm
you know, uh, but you realize that you don't really need that much anyway.
that's the key. That like that I don't really need that much.
Yeah.
It's and anymore that's just like my that's my life anymore. It's just I don't need a lot. Do I
Yeah.
still want cool things? I mean, yeah, I mean, I still think about it.
Right.
I still think about having a cool car. I mean, I've had cool cars, but like I still think about it. It's not that but I never, I don't feel the needs of that anymore. And
Yeah.
especially the most important thing is that I don't give a damn about what people think anymore. I just don't. And
Yeah.
man, people, if you try that, it makes your life so much easier.
Yeah. So you did at one
Easier.
point. You feel like at some point you did care. You did want to
I did
see
care. I
something.
did care too much. I did care way too much. I care so much about what anyone like. There was a something happened not too long ago. I can't remember right now, but that kind of clicked with me. I go, oh man, I used to care about what I'm doing here. Now I just don't give a damn. Like it's just,
Right.
and that is such a weight, such a huge weight lifted off my shoulder. Where
Yeah.
I'm just like, dude, I mean, you do you, I'll do me, and that's just how it's gonna go. And
Yeah. And how did that happen? How did that happen? Because I would imagine that it was also very difficult coming from how you were raised and the expectations that were placed on you, especially academically, right? That you, if you didn't have a
Hmm.
degree, you were no one. And so, how, tell me about what challenges you went through internally and externally, maybe with family, of choosing your life compared to
Um,
what maybe the expectation was.
well, the what makes it a little bit easier for me is that like my mom was not super, especially when we moved to the state. My mom was not super tuned into the idea of like, oh, you got to finish college or whatever, right? And she's been, I mean, my mom still doesn't understand what I do. She still doesn't, but she supports the idea. She
Mm-hmm.
has faith in me. So, and that is a big help. And the other big help is that like doing what I do. I mean, this, I'm sure there are some professions out there that people can relate. Doing what I do, it is like, I mean, actually, there are a lot of professions out there that people can relate to this. Having a great partner is super important as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, if you if your partner even has an ounce of doubt in their mind about the dream that you have or whatever it is, you might as well not have the partner. I'm not saying go get divorced tomorrow and pursue your dream, but you kind of need that. Like you kind of need that partner to actually be on to for you to feel like you actually that they actually have your back, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's really important. So and I mean, obviously, without saying that Kim has been, just we support each other a lot. I mean, we talk it out. She has tough time with her jobs. I mean, obviously, I have tough time with my jobs too. And we talk it out. We support each other emotionally, and that that is super important. How did I? Let's see. To answer your question, man, what took me out? Not sure. I think it's more like I started to feel uncentered and kind of realize that I was simply just completely whacked out of alignment. And part of it was that, I kind of, yeah, one thing I found out, I care too much about what other people had to say, what other people thought. Even, yeah, some of my family members didn't really approve of what I had to do, but hey, I go, hey, you know what? Tough luck. You can think what you want. I'm gonna do what I do. But it was a huge. No, I'm not gonna lie. It was a huge, huge relief that my mom was not against what I did, what I
Mm-hmm.
do. So that helps.
Yeah.
Some books, I guess, like, I mean, you've heard of this one before. I mean, one of the books that really cracked it for me was The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark
Oh,
Manson.
yeah. That's
Yeah, and
one of my
I also
favorites.
listened
Yes.
to his podcast as well. I mean, he's a super unique individual,
Mm-hmm.
and I just and really he can, like, his contents, his ideas of life just really clicks with me, you know.
That's awesome.
And that was the code that really cracked it. And come to realize also, like, not only worrying less about what other people think about what, whether what you do or what, I mean, and realize that people don't really give a fuck about you either. They
No, I
don't.
know.
Like, I mean,
Right.
like, you give yourself too much credit if you actually think that people are, like, judging you in this way and that way and this. Yeah, I'm not saying that people are not out there judging other people, but like, you're really giving yourself way too much credit if you think people
Right.
actually care to that degree. They don't. People don't really
Right.
care. they,
Right.
they want to worry
Yeah.
about what their own stuff. It's already enough. So
Yeah. No, I hear you. And perhaps it's also about shifting that instead of worrying about what other people are thinking so much, bringing it to yourself and being like, no, like I'm gonna actually pay attention to what I think more, like
yep.
making that the priority and being like, how does this feel for me, not what other people are going to think or feel about what I'm doing, which is such good point too. Like we definitely overthink it and we think that people are going to
Yeah.
be caring way too, and most people are just worrying about their own stuff, you know. I mean,
Yep.
they may have an opinion or whatever, but you're like a 5 second comment and then they move on. So
Yep.
yeah, well that's really cool. And yeah, I love Mark Manson. He is so great and he definitely has like excellent content. So what would you say is like the greatest struggle that you have gone through in choosing what you do and choosing this lifestyle?
Well, okay. So, um, the stress that we people like myself in my people in my profession do have is um I mean, the main thing is that let's just say you have a bad day at work. Well, our bad day at work has something to do with losing money. And that
Mm,
is, I don't care like how long you've been doing it. I've been doing this for a long time. I'd say, yeah, I mean, not as long as a lot of people, but I've been doing this for, long enough. And I should be able to say that like I'm used to it. I'm immune to it. Yeah, I handle it a lot better, but it's still, that's the part, that's the struggle, that's always going to be the thing, a thing with what I do. And yes, I may get asked like, then why don't you do something else? Well, because I'm not, at least at this moment, at the time, for the time being, I'm just not ready. I'm not going to give up what I am able to acquire, like what my job allows me to do.
mm,
Like I'm not gonna give that up. At least I say to myself, I actually said to myself the other day, and I'm sure I do it too. I do a little self-talk, probably almost every day. And by the way, it's like, try to do more positive self-talk, be kind to yourself. That's the message
mhm.
today as well.
Yeah.
I've done some negative self-talks. That's yeah. Sometimes it helps once in a while, just kind of snap yourself back. But I mean, if you do too much of that, put you in it will just put you in this spiral of funk that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do self-talk probably every day, and I said this to myself the other day, that you know what, if this doesn't work, I tried, but at least it allows me to do X, Y, and Z. It allows me
Mhm.
to do what I always want to do, is to be there for my kids.
Right.
Um, so if I were to actually walk away from it, I'm not gonna do it until like, my kids are a little bit, at least a little bit older.
Older. Yeah.
Yep. So
No, I
like
get that.
right now, I feel that my time is pretty important for them. So
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So
for the
you're
time
choosing
being,
that.
yes,
You're choosing your time and your freedom over, the
it
amount of
is the right
money
thing
and
for me to do.
yeah. Yeah. And no, I hear that. That's got to be really difficult. The challenge of like, when you have a job, you never lose. There's not a day that even when you don't go to work, it's not like they're subtracting your pay, it's not like they're taking money out. So that is a really interesting concept that yes, like a hard day for you is you're losing money, right?
Yep.
Like dealing with that, you gotta really and like you said, I don't think that you ever get completely immune to that, that you're just like, oh, I lost a bunch of money today. It's okay. Like it's always gonna probably get you.
Yep.
Um, so got it. And would you like now looking at your path where you are right now, do you think that you would have done anything differently from, let's
Would
say
have
you
done
would
it
have waited,
sooner.
you would have done it sooner.
I
Okay.
mean, but that's just me speaking, and it's like I try to stay away from this. Like I should have done this, I should have done that kind of thing. It's just not healthy.
No, no.
But if you ask me, yeah, I probably would have done it sooner. But I'm here and I'm doing it. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what matters. I just didn't know if there was a like a I don't know, something that you'd have been like, oh, I should have finished my degree, or I should be, I should have had a different career or anything like that.
no, actually never had that. I just never had that. I mean, it's like, I had some opportunities when I was actually like working regular jobs
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, having a degree would have been, but I don't think I ever went in that place where it's like, man, I wish I would have finished school.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I
that's
have
true.
always been I have always been this person, which, again, not, it works for me. Not to say that, people should go and do this, but like, I even say this to Kim earlier on in one of our conversations, about stuff, where I said, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how I have always been,
Yeah,
where it's like, like just back then, I had job opportunity, and if I would have had a degree, and I didn't, I
yeah,
not an ounce of me that went, man, I wish I would have finished school.
yeah.
No,
That's true.
I didn't finish school for a reason. There was a reason why I didn't finish school.
Yeah,
And there's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, and not because, but not because it's you I refuse to live my life like that. Let's just put it that way.
yeah. No, I
So,
love that. I love that. I love the answer. And it's just a curiosity. Like, I love the certainty that you are doing, you feel very certain that you are on the right path, even to go as far as
oh
saying,
yeah.
like, I would have just done it sooner, I would have got, and of course you're not necessarily dwelling on that either, but that's
No,
where
no,
you
no.
go, that's where you go rather than like, oh, I wish I would have, done a completely different thing with my life. So, um, well, great. What do you think are the greatest lessons that you have learned in staying true to yourself? Like, once you, let's say, got rid of all the worrying about what people thought and kind of like peeled all those layers, and you've aligned with this life that allows you to be there for your girls, have the freedom, the time freedom, which ultimately is the greatest resource, right? Time and happiness and joy. So how has staying true to yourself, what are the lessons there? What are the greatest lessons for you?
Man, that's a good question. That's a tough one. I was gonna actually, yeah, I was gonna fall back to that part where it's like, not having to worry about what everyone else thinks. It's kind of a big deal. Um, I mean, that's also something that I would continue to teach my kids as well, is that, you're gonna grow into this role of being an adult. And even now, I mean, they're dealing with it to some degree, where, they're starting to worry about what everyone else is thinking. And it's that's just not something that I ever really want them to worry much about. Lesson, what's the greatest lesson that
If you have one,
to
if
to
it doesn't, something doesn't come up, I mean, it could be that the lesson could be that yeah, you stop worrying about others, right?
um this might not fall into as consider as a lesson, but more so of, how I have learned to actually be completely okay with myself. Is when you get to the point where what you do doesn't really, what other people think, what other people say, it doesn't really matter anymore. You get to this point, this place where that I think for me, it's like that true contentment comes in. Like,
Yeah.
I, it's I I don't believe that you can fully become content, happy, whatever, the happiness, and, people want to use the term happiness. Is so, that's fine, unless you are able to completely be okay with yourself. I don't know if that actually answers the
It's
question.
Yeah, it
Um,
does. It does.
and so that's there's that. I mean, you know, I have never been. I mean, yeah, I've been like never been so healthy physically, but mentally, I never been this strong. I wouldn't say.
That's
I never
amazing.
been this
Gosh.
strong mentally, and honestly, like the struggles that we deal with. And again, our struggles is kind of the same thing in my profession. So the idea of it's the money part, really. It's and but and I say this to Kim, I have said it to her many times, where it's like I see people struggle in other aspects. I see people are having to deal with sickness or whatever it is, and man, here I am worrying about money.
Mm,
Like, why should that be a thing? I have my health.
right.
Like, as long as I have my health, there's plenty of things I can figure out, right?
Right.
And like yeah, I mean, they're professional poker players that to the point where they don't really have to worry about money anymore. And it's like, good on them. And I'm sure even those people, they still worry about some things, and
Right.
it could be money too, and you just don't hear about it. But like, the thing with poker, as you probably already figure out, you have to have money to work,
Yeah.
because if you don't have a job.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
so that's the part. And yes, at some point it can become somewhat stressful, because
Mm,
and that's I guess, that would be a common I that is our common struggle that people in my profession deals with.
yeah.
And well, I say, if I have to choose, there's a thing to worry about and struggle with, I rather choose this rather than anything else out there,
Yeah.
like health wise or whatever.
Yeah, no,
So
I was actually thinking that as you were speaking, it sounded to me, I'm sure you've heard of the term, if you listen to Mark Manson, he talks about a shit sandwich, right? Like we all,
yep. I love
yeah,
that.
we always, I mean, we all eat a shit sandwich of sorts with the choices that we make, and we just have to be mindfully picking the shit sandwich that is best for us, that tastes, less like shit, maybe.
Choose your flavor.
Choose your flavor. And so
Choose
for
your
you,
flavor.
you'd rather, if there's one thing that you're gonna struggle or worry about, it would be rather, let's say you sometimes worry about money rather than worrying about, not having enough time for your girls, not having enough time to be physically active, to keep, take care of your
Hmm.
health, physical and mental, to spend time with interesting people, doing, feeling free, right? Like for you, feeling free is really, really a priority, and you don't want to be um, tied up or feeling imprisoned by money and things, not subscribing to that.
Yeah, let's just say I tried that a couple of years ago for a month, and it was not for me anymore.
Yeah.
I basically I went back to a regular job, and it lasted a month. And
Yeah.
it you know my little one came to me one day, and it was a Sunday, and I was getting ready to go to work, because the line of job that I took on, which was back in car sales,
Mm.
was, you work Sunday sometimes. And she asked me can if she could come to work with me, and that drew the line for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Oh,
kind of that kind of ended it for me. And yeah, needless to say that the next day I went in and quit my job. So
yeah. Wow. Amazing. You're so
yep.
brave and bold and very clear on your priorities. Like super
Yep.
clear, which I think is amazing. So we're getting to the end of the hour here, and I just want to ask one last question, and I think I know what you're going to say, but if you had to share a message with a younger generation or even people in our generation about following your passion and being true to yourself, um, and I know you've given us a lot, which I've really appreciated. Is there anything different? Is there anything more that you'd want to
Hmm.
share?
Man, that's a good one. What would I give? Well, what would I tell my kids, right? I mean, that would be, well, what would I tell my kids? And what I wouldn't be anything different from what I've been telling my kids, is that yes, at the end of the day, you're gonna have to pay bills. At the end of the day, and if what following your passion is not going to allow you to pay bills, then maybe you should do that. Somewhat started off on the side or whatever, but my message is this, is that there's nothing, there's no better feeling than being able to do what you love. So work toward that. Work toward, do whatever it takes. I mean, if you, like right now as an adult, if you're out there, young adults, let's just say young adults right now, if you're out there grinding and doing what you do right now, well, take a little bit of time to 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 find whatever it is that you love, absolutely love doing, and build that, even little by little. And because I can guarantee you there's no sports car, there's no beautiful home, there's nothing else out there that is going to be more fulfilling than being able to do what you absolutely love, and not having to worry about not having to worry about everything else, meaning like, man, I don't know, man. I guess I'm kind of I'm struggling a little bit to answer this. Um, the
No, you're
message
doing a
is
great job. Yeah, no, you're
the
doing a great
message
job.
is basically just go out there, spend some time finding what you love, what you truly love, because that is the best feeling in the world. I mean, I personally have heard a couple of, like, even doctors and things like that, and gave up their profession, and after whatever how many years. Why do you think that is? It's like it's being feeling stuck in doing something that you don't enjoy can be not it can be very harmful for you. It's just,
Yeah,
your family it will affect them in one way or another. Sometimes people don't even know it, that it's affecting their kids or whatever it is. Just so you know, you having more bad days and good days at work is affecting your kids.
oh yeah,
So, to tell the kids, yes, you know what, I mean, sound cliche, but man, follow your dream. Be reasonable, be
yes,
somewhat reasonable about it. And,
yes,
like I said to my older daughter, that, like, you can't be broke and be an artist and be broke,
right,
but do what you love. It fills your heart. Like, it really does. And it gets, sometimes it, at least for me personally, it got to the point where it's like, that matters the most right now.
yeah,
So
oh yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Well, this was awesome. I loved
yes, this has
hearing.
been awesome.
It's been awesome. I love learning more about you and like really understanding, what has driven you to live this life, and it's really inspiring. And
Oh, I'm
thank
glad
you
to hear
for
it. That's nice.
yeah, thank you for
and
helping
and I'm
me.
proud of you. I'm proud of you for doing this. It's like, this is awesome. I said to Kim, I'm like, yes, like, she has the perfect personality for it, and she
Oh,
should do it.
well, thank you.
You
I
know.
appreciate it. I'm just trying to inspire people to live their life, not anybody else's life, but to live their life because we
Well, you
only have
do
this.
inspire us. That's why I'm doing this to begin with. You do
Oh,
inspire me, both me and Kim. I can't
oh,
speak for anyone else, but you do inspire me and Kim. So, kudos to you for doing what you feel true, about doing, and just go with it. Just go with
yes,
it, man. It's like,
yes,
that's and people eventually, hopefully most people will get to find out one day what actually really matters the most.
right. To
That's
their
the
yes,
key. Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Sumit. I hope you did as well.
I
An
did.
amazing time.
I
And
did. This is great.
thank you for being again the first episode. Yay!
Pleasure. No, it's a
So thank
pleasure.
you.
Little
Yeah, and for those
flattering,
of
not
you,
gonna lie. It's a little
yeah.
flattering too. So,
Well, thank you for
yeah.
those watching and listening. Thanks for tuning into Living Off Script, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
All right,
Bye.
bye.